Hi, my name is Julia Mikk. I'm your host for your Deepest Fulfillment Telesummits, a powerful masterclass series where I interview over 21 world-renowned healers, teachers, breathworkers, mindfulness experts, all to help you to drop your excuses and step into the radiance and power of your most sacred purpose. And today I have a great honor to interview an amazing man whose name is Jim Morningstar. Jim is the director of Transformations Incorporated and has been licensed as a clinical psychologist since 1973. He's a clinical supervisor, seminar leader, and has pioneered in the integration of psychotherapy. He has been teaching mind-body techniques such as therapeutic breathwork and biospiritual energetics. In 1980, he founded the School of Integrative Psychology. And in 1990, he created the Transformations Breathworker Training Program. Wow, it has been a long time. Mm-hmm. He has authored 4 books in the field of spiritual psychology and is a co-director of the Global Professional Breathwork Alliance. Jim's 33 years of courses in integrative psychology are available online and through his training programs nationwide. 4 levels of breathworker certification can be obtained by those who are interested in professional breathwork training. And I know there's so much more, but I'm glad I got the most important parts shared here with you, Jim. So thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. It's truly an honor to have you.
Well, I am the honored one, Julie, because this is a wonderful service that you're providing, not just for your community, but I believe for our world. The more we can share the highest of what we know, the more we can, well, sometimes be that spark that ignites the flame within people to search for their highest fulfillment. I believe that's our work here. And you are doing great work. I've seen your website and the wonderful offerings that you give to the world. So I'm so glad to be with you today.
Thank you. And we just talked a little bit before the interview, and I learned that what you're actually offering through breathwork trainings is very similar to what I do in Breath of Love. Would you tell a little bit more about transformational breathwork? No, what do you call it? Therapeutic breathwork. That's your word. Yes. What makes it unique? What makes it different from so many other breathwork styles out there?
Well, in therapeutic breathwork, we actually have a toolbox of different breathing awareness and modulation techniques. So it's not a one-size-fits-all breath. We use slower than normal breathing, such as things done in mindfulness or coherent breathing when they are appropriate to engage the parasympathetic nervous system. And I call that maintenance breathing, things that we do every day. Then the faster than normal breathing, or in therapeutic breathwork, is used specifically to work with the emotional body because it engages the sympathetic nervous system. And that's when our feelings are up. And sometimes when we have been overwhelmed and we've gone into a traumatic response in our nervous system, the memories of that and the reactions to it are in what's called implicit only memory. So they're unconscious. We're not aware of them. And we can sit and talk about them ad nauseum and never really get to the place that has been walled out of fear. Now, this is not a conscious choice. People do not say, oh, I don't want to remember this. It's a horrible thing. Because literally what happens now, as we know from neuropsychological research, is that the hypothalamus cuts off the pathways to the prefrontal cortex under the overwhelming circumstances. And so the brain doesn't have a record of what happened, but it goes into a fight, flight, defensive response. And we find ourselves doing things that don't even make sense to us. They're illogical, of course, because logic wasn't involved. Fight or flight was involved. And now what we found, though, is that the adaptations to these various traumas in life, and trauma is not just something that happens to someone who's been in war, or someone who's had a near fatal car accident, or someone who's experienced assault. Those are the obvious types of trauma. Everyone experiences a time when their body shuts down and the nervous system goes into an emergency reaction. Everyone. And they don't, for the most part, interfere with our life, our being able to survive. But they do cut down our efficiency, our effectiveness, and often keep us from taking that step, or what you might say, getting beyond the excuses. Because an excuse is something that my mind invents to explain why I seem unable to open more fully, to take that risk, to engage more openly in life. So with the therapeutic breath work, when we use faster than normal breathing, we very gently and safely go into a person's emotional field and allow them to do what they couldn't do back when their system was overwhelmed. And that is, number one, to react appropriately, and number two, then to integrate these reactions into their conscious life. For countless people that I've worked with, it felt to them like they've re-owned all of their capabilities again. It felt like they are reborn, as it were, back to what their potential is. And that doesn't mean that automatically now everything is easy in life, but they have a tool now that they can use when they start to get overwhelmed or re-stimulated with all of those old programmings. And that's what I love about our work, Julia, is that we're not the doctor that cures someone. We are an assistant in their process. We're the coach. We're the person that helps them take the tools and utilize them. I've often said that I can't teach you breath work, but I can help you find yours. I can help you find that rainbow bridge which connects your body, the breathing of your lungs, your emotional self, your mind, and your spirit. And the breath runs through all of those realms. It's one of the few things I know, because, I said back in 1974, when I first experienced faster than normal breathing and breath work, I thought, oh, this is wonderful. What a fantastic tool. But I'll probably be on to other things, once I master this. Well, haven't mastered it yet. I keep learning from it. It is the most incisive and giving teacher that I know. I've had also other teachers that you asked the question, what makes therapeutic breath work different than other styles? Well, first of all, it's that approach. It's an experiment that we go in with. We don't go in with a solution. We go in with tools, and we work with and experiment with an individual as to what tools fit them under what circumstances. Now, before I ever got into breath work, I was working with Alexander Lowen's bioenergetics. And he has a masterful study of the first 6 years of life and the developmental themes that every human being goes through. This isn't something just happens traumatically to one individual, not to others. We all go through birth. We all go through learning to eat, learning to walk, learning to explore the world. We all go through feelings of embarrassment or guilt or shame at certain times, and what it is to be male and female and accept our gender roles, and what it is to try to have long-term, lasting, loving relationships. It's, now, what we find is that the body takes on elements of each of those stages of our growth. So this was wondrous to me when I found this out. And I thoroughly immersed myself into it. Now, Alexander Lowen was very appreciative of the breath. He knew that that was the engine that drove everything. What he didn't do a big study of, though, was the different kinds of breathing engaged in each of the 6 body themes. So I said, well, this is perfect for me. Now, I'm not just going to know what these themes are and how they are incorporated, because our bodies actually operate differently depending on what theme is highlighted for us in our life. And that's not that we have just one. So we have a combination of them, but usually we have a default theme that we go back to, like it's not safe enough, or there's not enough for me, or I have to be in charge and in control, or I'm squashed, or I'm ashamed, or, you know, these themes are like a neon sign to the world, but we're often unconscious of them ourselves. So we're broadcasting these themes to ourselves and to our world, and they become like water to a fish. So we, in breath work, notice the different breathing styles of these themes. And that is a great aid as a breath worker to be able to know, okay, all of a sudden we hit a stuck place. All of a sudden we're having some challenge here. Let's dial back to what's the prevailing theme that this person goes to when they get stuck. And that then is complemented with various movement, expression, things that work particularly well for that theme. And so I've used this in all of my breath work. I'm not one that does a lot of intervention all the time. And I don't see people as body types or themes. But when the person is getting stuck, it's a very useful place to come back. All right, are we dealing with basic safety here? Are we dealing with a sense of deprivation or abandonment? And what will help that? And often an exercise that I will give while the person's in a breathing session will jumpstart their breath again. It's, for example, the exercises when a person feels unsafe and they can't flee or they can't fight, they will leave their body. Mm-hmm. Okay. I was a champion at this, Julia. Mm-hmm. I had the best breath workers in the world, literally the best. They could not keep me in my body. Mm-hmm. Because when my body felt threatened, even though my mind didn't at all, wow, I'm perfectly safe. These are nice people. Isn't this a wonderful circumstance? But my body was signaling, no, no thanks. I'm out of here. And it wasn't until there was one of the original certified breath workers named Bobby Birdsall. Mm-hmm. And what I loved about breath work is it didn't stand on formality of education. It stood on a person's heartfelt experience and their ability to reach people. Mm-hmm. And Bobby reached me in the first breathwork session that I had with him, because I went out to do a training with him in Massachusetts, and he said, okay, go in the room, start breathing, and he went and had lunch. What? That got me very upset. And what do you know? I didn't fall asleep. What I came to discover was that anytime there was frustration, because anger was forbidden in my family, we didn't get angry. We could be sarcastic and we could be funny, but we never were overtly angry. So I had shut off anger in my body, and I would leave my body rather than to express any sort of frustration. But Bobby intuitively did this so expertly. I'm sure he didn't consciously think I'm going to piss Jim off, but he had this intuition, and he listened to his own guidance. And that set me off then to recognize, oh, this is what keeps me in the present, is when I start to feel safe with my own anger. And so I used bioenergetic exercises to help people who continually check out. I have all these demonstrated on
May I
training.
ask you a question?
Yes.
I'm curious, how does it relate to somebody who is listening to this into their world? Like when they're checking out or they're leaving the body, like why is that something they do not want to continue? Like how is it not good for them? Like how does it show up in the everyday life that is not most beneficial?
Okay. Oh, beautiful question. Beautiful question. The thing is that each of these techniques, like leaving the body, develops special skills. So people who often have left their body because of trauma or difficult circumstances have developed wonderful skills in the ethereal realm. They're some of our greatest artists in the world. They're some of our greatest thinkers. They're in their mind. However, their flight from the body was done out of challenge or difficulty, and integration and coming back into their body is still not safe. So we don't try to get rid of that skill. In fact, I call this stage psychic sensitive. We don't try to get rid of people's psychic abilities or their sensitivity, but we try to make the body safe enough so that they can choose when they want to go to an ethereal realm and choose to come back and perhaps sell their paintings.
I like that, right? To sell the painting. So coming into the body, is it about them being able to live in the physical world, like sell the paintings, make money, move through this physical material reality?
That's right. That's right. People who were this psychic sensitive, who, for example, were soldiers in Vietnam, when there were point people and sent into the jungle, they could sense where there was a sniper. And they would avoid that. It kept them alive. These skills were developed perhaps as children or an infant even. And the skills can be used for survival. So they are positive in their formation. However, if throughout my life, anytime I walk into a room and there's someone with an angry face or something, and I immediately have to leave, I can't stay in a meeting or I can't be around people, well, that's not helping me function in life. So integration means that I can keep those skills, psychic sensitive, empathetic nurturing, inspirational leader, steadfast supportive, gender balanced, energetic grounded. See, I changed the names of these themes from the, let's say, the fear-based side of them, which is schizoid, masochistic, it's like, no. That's what happens when you're stuck in fear. And so what I love about this is that we keep the strengths that we've developed and we integrate them. And now we've got the best of both worlds. I'm not only a great visionary or a great psychic, but I also can attend a dinner party and sit next to someone who perhaps doesn't believe the same thing I do about politics or whatever. So
Yeah, I love that. I think it's so important. I work with a lot of people and I imagine a lot of the audience is already spiritual. And at least I know a lot of clients who come to me, they're already in their heart or in their third eye or psychic, but they have really hard time even just creating prosperity in their physical life or having intimate relationships. So
Yes.
the embodiment part is missing, coming into the body, coming onto the planet Earth. So that's what you're speaking of, to actually integrate it and bring everything together.
Right. And that's why, if I might say, Julia, people like you who have integrated and who have both of those qualities are very sympathetic with and very attuned to people who have those skills, have those abilities, and you help them then see that they're wanted and needed here. And so the psychic sensitive, for example, is very, very tuned in to your loving acceptance of them. And if you see them as a case or something just to make money from, or, you know, they pick that up. Because their survival and their ability to sense danger is highly, highly tuned. So you may not know the answers for them. And of course we don't. We know we don't know the answers for anyone, but we can share tools and create the space for them to discover their own answers and to come back to integration and healings themselves. And so one of your greatest tools then is just your loving acceptance of people and your unabashed description of what loving breathwork is. You know, it's beautiful, Julia.
Thank you.
And so what the therapeutic breathwork does is looks at each of the themes that people's bodies are displaying in life and helps them become conscious of the themes. It's not that I'm aware of their body theme. That's minimal use. It's that they are aware of it. And so when they get under stress, they recognize, okay, I'm starting to go back to an old default pattern here, and that gives them choice.
So is there something you can teach right now to the audience who is watching this right now, like some kind of exercise or practice they could implement right away today that would be helpful for them?
Well, that's why I have, you know, again, you have generously given people free gifts from here. And I'm right with you on that, because I created a video series with 3 of the main breathwork tools that I use, so that people, not just in a couple of seconds that we have here, but can take the time to see what a maintenance breath is and experience it and be guided in it, to see what a meditative complete breath is for spiritual connection and complete opening of their physical breathing mechanism, to see what faster than normal breathing is in a contained experiment that allows people to, in 100 breaths, jumpstart their energy system. So yes, we have, it's what I love to do. As a matter of fact, at this stage in my life work, I'm not as busy just doing individual, and I'm enjoying making YouTube. I have over 250 YouTube videos that shares all of these techniques and various ways to explore your spiritual nature, your, you know, so absolutely, I invite anyone and everyone to explore that. And if you have questions, to contact me about it. Because as I said, I don't think I have the tools. I have a number of tools, but you've got to make them your own.
I love that. That sounds very empowering. The person needs to tune into themselves and see what's in resonance with their truth. And that's when they can carry this empowered state forward.
Yes. Yes.
I love it. So there will be a link underneath the video, and people can easily access your gifts and go to YouTube to learn even more. And I actually have a question. I know we have only a few minutes left, but I have a lot of clients who when they engage in faster than normal breathing in order to heal deep trauma, they ask why faster than normal? Isn't it hyperventilation? How can re-engaging sympathetic nervous system be helpful? That's trauma often lives in sympathetic, so why would you want to increase sympathetic response even more? So I'm so curious, what's your response to that?
Well, again, this is the key. You hit the button right there, Julie. This is the key, and this is why so many professionals, even people in the healing world that are well known, are very leery of the faster than normal breathing because, frankly, it's been misused at times. There are people, say the inspirational leader style, can breathe like a champ. They breathe like a machine, and they breathe, and everyone should breathe like this. What's wrong with people? Why don't, and then they become teachers and they push for people to breathe in a way that actually isn't very useful for people. So when I do faster than normal breathing, it is modulated to fit that system. And the key is relaxing on the exhale.
Yes.
That's the key. Because when you push the exhale, you take yourself into hyperventilation or even into tetany.
Yeah.
And so, no, that's not particularly useful. Although in the extreme cases, I had a person who was so psychic sensitive that they precipitously went into tetany just so they could feel something, even though it was uncomfortable. Well, we got past that, but we can coach people to go into, in fact, what you said about going into the emotional body is where many people live. Emotions cause so much pain in my life. Why even go there? Who needs emotions? Well, they are the color. They are the passion. They are what makes life zing, makes it worthwhile. So to be able to go in safely, to go into my emotional body and to use it constructively, to do the work that I came here to do, to face the challenges and the barriers that I came in with. Because Julia, you and I know that we've had to go through our own huge challenges in order to really live the way we wanted to live and do what we wanted to do. I gave it all up as soon as I was done with a PhD. I said, I'm out of here. I went to Africa and went into the desert, and it was in the desert where I found a book that enlightened me and said, oh, there's another way. It's a way through the body. It's a way through the breath. It's a way through the heart. I said, okay, now I'm willing to work with people because this speaks to me, and I will share it with others. So the faster than normal breathing takes courage, but it also is a calling. It's a calling to come home to the full expression of our love and the full expression of our safety in being on earth. And so it's a sacred gift to be able to share this with people. But we've got to be able to not just sit in the bleachers or make a YouTube video and say, go do it. We have to be there with them. We have to go through it with them. And not to take it on, not to take on everyone's stuff. It's counterindicated to do that. But to recognize we are one. And that person's pain and that person's hopes and that person's desire are part of the one body that we all live in. And so our willingness to be vulnerable, to be open, and to, let's say, engage lovingly and wholeheartedly gives them the courage, or helps give them the courage then to not only do this for themselves, but they will automatically then share it with their family, with their, and not necessarily a breathwork technique, but just how they be in a body on earth.
I like how you're bringing in the word courage. In my experience, sympathetic nervous system, when that's functioning in a healthy, full way, that's where courage comes in, or determination, being
Yeah.
able to take action. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to activate sympathetic response. We just want to activate it and work through whatever trauma is stuck in it. So
Right.
sympathetic response doesn't always have to be coupled with fear or block or pain, but we
Not
can
at all.
be in our fullness and take action fully through sympathetic nervous system in the world. And speaking of living the bigger purpose, that's very much needed. We cannot just sit on the couch meditating, right? How can we be in our parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems both in a
Yes.
healthy way?
Yes, absolutely. Again, I feel privileged to walk the path with you, Julia. And I know there's so many others who are listening who are already walking that path, or who are sticking their toe in the water and saying, oh, maybe I'm willing to go a little further. Maybe there's something more for me here. Because for me to live my purpose, it's like I feel a certitude for my calling. I don't know all the answers. I didn't know what was going to happen today when you and I talked. I didn't know. But I know when there's an openness and when there's an acceptance, that Spirit talks through us.
And so it is such a beautiful place to complete. Spirit talking and moving through us, living through us, manifesting through us. I know there's so much more you could share with us, but there's the gift you're offering and the YouTube videos and everything on your website. What is your website, by the way?
It's transformationsusa.com.
Transformationsusa.com. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And
Thank you so much for coming today, Jim.
again, it's so much my pleasure. I love what you're doing.
Mm.
And yay, Julia.
Yay, Jim. Thank you. And to everyone listening, watching to this, please join us in the next video tomorrow. There will be so much more coming, and definitely take Jim up on his gift that he's offering to you. It's very generous. Thank you. And there is a little alarm that just said, yay, congratulations. We ended a beautiful interview today.